lot of stuff happened in the last couple of weeks. a lot of changes in the world, and it's going to affect our it's going to affect New Zealand's economy and the hunting environment. It's going to affect a lot of Australians heading over. But I've got on the show today. I've got Ryan O'Connor from North Island NZ.
Yeah.
How you going, Ryan?
Yeah, good, mate. I with all you Aussies away, I managed to find a deer in public land last night. So yeah, you've talked to me at the right time. Yeah.
Yeah, I flicked through that. You got it yesterday afternoon, was it, or in the morning?
Yeah, last night around about 6 o'clock or so. It was you could describe what we were in 3 ways, depending on the season, I suppose. It was either a gulch or a slip or a creek. And, just depended how high up you were or, as I said, I guess what season it was or how many earthquakes there had been. But, yeah, it was quite large sort of scree stuff. And either side were these nice bush areas that looked pretty good. And, top of that, there was some nice meadows and, spotted one, and then we're creeping up to try to get a better position on her, and then saw another one a little bit lower down, easier to aim at, and so lined it up at about 400, and it's now in my freezer.
You seem to be keeping a consistently full freezer lately with the rate you've been going. So
it's been touch and go. Secret don't last as long.
They taste a little bit better than red deer.
Yeah, that they also do. So it's a catch-22. Get a red and you fill your freezer for longer, but get a sea cat and it's way tasty.
But they're quite. I didn't even realise. I only went to a hunting expo, and one of the fellas had one there from the North Island, and they're tiny. And I had I'd perceived perception of a much bigger deer, but they're quite a small animal.
Yeah, I think a stag or an older hind might be, half decent. But yeah, definitely the yearling hind I shot in August, and then the spiker I shot in December. They weren't the biggest.
Yeah, but they're easy to carry the whole thing out.
I was about to say, which made it good for that second one because I had to carry it out.
So for our Aussie listeners, just might as well introduce yourself and sort of what you do and your profession, and the fact that you're a host on probably one of the better hunting podcasts in New Zealand. I think you're going to run out of people soon. You've interviewed some of the best Kiwi hunters out there, and in the know guys, I'm like, how can there be so many? But give us a bit of a rundown. Sell yourself for a minute.
Cheers, Marty. Well, I'm actually an optometrist, and I'm a born again hunter. Some people become Christians in their 20s, but no, I became hunter. Grew up in Southland, bottom of New Zealand, handy to places like Fiordland and Central Otago, and even Southland itself has got fantastic hunting. Duck shooting's pretty big down there. Like they reschedule the rugby season on opening weekend so that everyone can get out and go duck shooting and that sort of stuff. So surrounded by plenty of hunters, but basically growing up on Mataunie and we would take the 22 with us camping every now and again, and if we were lucky we'd go for a walk around someone's farm and try clean up the rabbit population, which Central Otago they're pretty abundant, and be a bit like you guys over in Australia. But sports person growing up and academic, trying to go to uni, and became an optometrist, and by the time that was all done, I still hadn't done any hunting. So once that was over and I was able to afford a firearm, got the firearm, and then it was just a matter of, right, I suppose you've got to go and do this thing now. And spent 10 years wandering around the bush, trying not to get lost, trying to find where animals might hide out. As I said, in December last year, finally managed to get one on public land, and yesterday was a second public land deer, so that was pretty awesome. And then when it comes to the podcast, As an optometrist, you deal with one person every half an hour or 40 minutes or so, and you have these recurring conversations, and just thought that, podcasting might be a better way to reach more people and talk about more broad topics. And sort of once Tarmageddon came along last year, and had Joseph Peter on, and also I'd had Adam Kavner on, who you've spoken with. I moved back to New Zealand and had this flurry of hunters come on board, and it was kind of like, once you get one, you get them all.
Oh, it's definitely been a good listen, and I listened to quite a few of your hunting ones, and they're all very, not outspoken, but pretty passionate in a lot of ways. The Kiwis are switched on with what's going on, because there's not as many people care as deeply or as enthusiastic, so it seems, in Australia, for the fact that a minute someone threatens something, like, I wish we had the same attitude where they're taking it away from us, but it seems like everyone sort of knuckled down and got together, and then once there were a couple of voices, they all got behind it. And I know a lot of Australians put in and voice their opinions and sign petitions and things like that. I still get like spam email from every politician that I put a email through about the charcoal and something else. I keep getting these regular, this is what we're doing this week in this community. But it's great to hear it directly from the guys that are over there, and it's a refreshing and sort of slightly inspirational, the way that some of those fellas talk about their hunting and their hunting, exactly like your hunting, New Zealand's hunting, and what potentially they're trying to change, and especially with the gun laws and everything else, that massive change at 2019 in New Zealand. It's great for you to provide them with a voice also. So good on you for that.
I guess that's for me, like, having this platform established, and for someone who's 10 years into something and put so much time and a little bit of money into it, to then have all those rights taken away now. I've been an avid, reader of publications and read the odd hunting book, and I'll always sit down and watch hunting shows or hunting videos on YouTube and stuff. And then for the potential for that to be gone from me, to be able to talk with people that know what they're talking about and have got experience, is just, it's pretty privileged. And like, that's kind of the selfish side of hosting a podcast, is you get to sort of say, hey, I've got a platform, do you want to come on and have a conversation? And then as it comes across, you get to hear all these absolute gems. And I suppose New Zealand as a country, since I think around the 70s or so, it's been pretty much open slather on going after deer. So there's sort of 2 or 3 generations of people that, just go and get out there, and then for that to be no longer a thing, it might need to be the way that we do it. We might have to sort of start licensing going hunting or something, but we need to protect it, all this way of life that we've known for 50 odd years, and more traditionally, it's been around since late 1800s, could well be gone now. What that means for the ecology, which is why sort of the hunting side of things wants to be banned, or not banned, or eliminated. How that's going to work if there's no hunters out there taking animals, I don't know. But it's a bit of a catch-22. Careful what you wish for the other side of the argument, I think.
Yeah, they're similar here in regards to after the bushfires, there are big issues with pest species becoming more dominant through where the natives are more vulnerable. Because our pest species are bigger animals, they've got more ability to get away from the thick stuff versus the natives and the marsupials, which are a lot smaller. And they have the feeling that the pest species are going to dominate, and it's like there's no options to send. The country, and New Zealand is even more so. It's just not open paddocks to go, and you just don't bait stuff, and you can't just fly over the top and shoot everything with a chopper. Like all the farmers and all the properties where all the people shoot deer and rabbits and all trapping all those little animals and stuff. They just people don't realise. I don't think anyone ever counts what private hunters do for farmers, especially on fish country, and they won't. Yeah, they won't get that here the same as they just don't understand, and they just think once we stop all the hunters, that's our emotional needs covered. Now, how are we going to spend all these billions of dollars to maintain these, like keep these things under control? So, yeah, it's hard. You'd probably have which is why another reason to get you on is you spoke to so many guys in regards to the situation over there, from all over NZ, and impacting on like some of them are guides and others are just privateers and backcountry hunters who just live for it, and what the impact of culling and baiting, and anyone who follows what's his name, the Kiwi Bushman, would know. He's often posting impacts of the baiting programs in the river systems. But it's what's your take on it so far? What have you gathered up from all the intel? Has starting off with the tar and then the gun restrictions, has it affected the image at all over there for hunting? Like, has it affected the people that come in to guide? Have guides noticed it's harder to get the tar or the chamois or free range reds or anything like that since this? And have they had issues with clients coming in and having gun restriction issues?
I guess
through the air.
Yeah, I guess we're lucky currently that that bill hasn't been pushed through yet, and they were sort of trying to pass it on the anniversary of the shooting last year, which I don't know.
Yeah, I saw that in the paper. Yeah,
yeah.
There's one whole side of the parliament fighting against it, isn't there?
Yeah, and we've got a sort of Labor-led government there at the moment, but it's also made up of a small portion of the Greens, who have the conservation portfolio, which is where a lot of that's where the tar cull come from, and there's potential this year for culling of deer going on, but we'll wait and see. And yeah, I think in terms of free range guiding, someone that, as I said, sort of kicked it off for me with hunters was Joseph Peter. He's more concerned with what's going to happen in 10 years' time when we've cleared away, all these nannies, and there's the potential for guys to, take an informed opinion out there and one, shoot up a whole bunch more nannies when it's already being done by the paid people, and two, not really age or score the bull population, and then we have no breeding population and no quality males out there, and there's potential for, and I think that's unlikely given the range of the animals, but there's a potential for the quality to drop again, and it's probably a little bit unfortunate that the tar culls come along with some of the greatest bulls that have been shot for ages. Sort of 14 inches is starting to become the the target instead of the sort of 12.
Yeah.
12.
Just they've got into some good management, a good 10 years worth of hunters taking the right animals, and the big ones eluding hunters, as well as being left with some big animals, and now they're at that point where they're knuckling down on them.
Yeah, but I guess, and if you listen to Cam Speedy, and we were lucky enough to have him at our New Zealand Deer Talkers at the start of the month talk about Seeker, but if you listen to his sort of opinions, and that's why I don't think the population will actually collapse, but we just might lose a little bit of that quality for a while. But when it comes to a true trophy management herd, by his opinions, it really is about getting rid of the girls and having as many blokes as you can, and then selectively managing the boys, and so if you sort of see that bull that's old and he he had a few bad years, then taking him's not going to be so bad. So yeah, and it's a wild population, and so it's probably more about the quality of their feed, and so if if the numbers aren't going to be so intense, well, then we might still see these 14-inch bulls because they've been able to fill up their guts for a number of years, and with that get really good horn growth.
Yeah. Also with those, it's the same with the deer. You'd want a low doe ratio to like high buck numbers, so that you've got a more interesting rut.
Yeah.
Plus, but you often get when there's not as big a numbers, they're not as easy to pick off. So those smaller groups get time to hide away as well. So you'll get, if you haven't got a herd to chase, if you're only chasing 5 or 6 tail, they're going to be harder to spot in the mountains versus 30 of them. So if you've got lots of smaller mobs, you've got the opportunity for those bulls to stay out of sight for longer as well. Possibly another way to look at it. But yeah, it's sort of goes up and down, and depending on who the media is how much we hear over here. But it's sort of at a stagnant point until recently when that bill got pushed through for the gun laws, or trying to push it through. We sort of don't get kept up unless we chase it. But as you know, a lot of Aussies love hunting the NZ tar and reds and fallow, whatever we can. But the older coronavirus, right on point, is going to put a slow to that this year, I think, too. I don't know if you saw the press release.
Yeah.
Or all coming into the country. I haven't called the number. I was going to call it tonight to see what type of isolation, whether they class isolation in a hire car on the way to the West Coast as isolation, or whether we've got to actually not go to any shopping centres or anything like that when we fly in, which would affect our stocking up.
Yeah. 2 weeks in the bush, I think, is pretty isolated.
Yeah, I don't think if we got sick in there, we'll just blame the weather. That would be the easiest thing. I got a flu because it's -20.
Yeah.
So, no, have you is that on your radar? So what you, as a hunting career, sort of like said, you went for 10 years. Did you not really have a group of mates that were full into it as much as you wanted to be, or sort of someone to look up to or follow around? What took you to the point you're at now to develop into a better hunter?
Yeah, it was basically that. Having gone to uni in Auckland, it's pretty metropolis. It gets a bad rap for being pretty poncy. And in saying that, though, they've got one of the best deer stalkers clubs in the countries right now. They're doing great things up there, which is fantastic to see from a major city. But none of the guys I flattered with hunted. When I went to university in Dunedin, the 2 guys I ended up flatting with, I have been hunting with, but again, one of them was from a farm, and the other one just sort of was a bit like me, had an interest in it. And yeah, then I moved to Christchurch, and I didn't have a firearm as well. That probably hindered me. And then I finally got a firearm when I moved to the Waikato. But there I was playing rugby, so training and playing, and then so it was just kind of Sunday morning missions or the odd overnighter, and yeah, just going by myself basically. Guys preferred to finish rugby and get on the booze instead of going out for a walk in the bush. And yeah, it's one of those places where the population's not that high and the bush is pretty dense, and you've got to find your little honey hole before you can get successful. And probably didn't find it or nearly found it, and then I moved on, so ended up over there in Australia.
Yeah, did you get to do any? I can't remember because I only just started listening to your podcast when I think you had 12 months left here in Australia.
Yeah, no, I
got to get rid of me.
Moved to northern New South Wales, and so it probably would have been a couple of hours drive to go to the border range or down to Grafton area or something like that. And so with young family and obviously not having a firearm with me, or hadn't picked up a bow by that stage, so no, I didn't get into any hunting. There was a guy at the gym I went to that sort of had family down towards Grafton, and yeah, they chased the old pigs around, but again, never got to join them on that.
Yeah, when we spoke, you were gonna, I think, and you're talking to Adam about trying to get to do something before you left, but it never eventuated.
No.
Yeah, you didn't seem to have a whole lot of time either.
Yeah, I think Victoria might be the place I come over and check out. And spoken with quite a few of the blokes from Melbourne.
Yeah. Oh, there's plenty of. It's full of public land in Victoria, which is great. So you don't. Everyone has their spots, of course, but you don't feel as, I don't think a lot of guys aren't as cagey about inviting guys along when they hunt public land. It's sort of a common spot. They don't. Yeah, it's not like taking someone to your private block. You can be a bit more generous with it.
Yeah.
And plus, with enough information, which you should have, and knowing enough people, they could just send you out to fend for yourself if you wanted to go that way.
Yeah, just watch out for snakes.
There's plenty of them around. You don't have to watch out. They'll find you.
Yeah, no. We had plenty of those in Ballina, that my partner managed to walk in front of a brown, I think, in the first 2 weeks we were there. So that was, introductory to Australia. Here's one of the most poisonous snakes. Yeah,
lucky they don't. They sort of stay out of your way most of the time unless you step right on them, and then you're in trouble. I was out yesterday, day before yesterday. Yeah, Friday. Yeah, there's the first. I don't see that many snakes. I don't look for them. I think that's why I don't really care if they're around. So I never get to see that many. But there was a good 6-foot brown cruising over a log, which is pretty unusual. I normally see a lot of black snakes more than anything.
Yeah.
Maybe just because of their colour. But they don't seem to bother me unless I'll still yell if I step on one. But if I see them first, it's not a real issue.
Yeah.
So don't have to worry about that kind of stuff You guys don't have any snakes, do you? Or do you have one type?
Nah, we've got nothing. So nothing. The most you'll get annoyed with is rats, possums, and I doubt a state would come visit, but they're around as well. But yeah, I thought we were going to get bugged by a possum last night, but managed to stay away. We must have stunk bad enough or something.
Yeah, come and chase food in your camp, do they?
Yeah,
they're out. They're an Aussie import anyway. Them things, you can shoot them.
Yeah, well, that's sort of one of the alternative debates that people sort of say is, let us bring a 22 and be able to use it with a spotlight while we're in there, and we'll take care of some of the possums. Like last night, walking back down, I think we put the head torch on about 4 or 5 possums. There was one stage where we had one either side of the creek bed, and it's kind of like, oh, look at those bloody things, bright orange eyes.
Yeah. It'd be great for a little silence 22 to just pop them off. Keep the serenity in the mountains. You're not making too much noise.
Yeah, and it's when you're talking about guys doing the fringe country, that's where a lot of farmers or kids of farmers do a lot of good. There was a wicked article on our news the other day of a Potiki is sort of the bottom of Bay of Plenty going into the East Cape, and they had these couple of mums have organised a competition that's the opposite of usual hunting competitions, and it's basically about getting kids along to bring as many possums and rabbits and stoats and goats as they possibly can, and everyone gets a prize as well. It's a pretty fantastic little event for a sort of a small community.
Yeah, we got that shared by a few people on Facebook. Yeah, I bet it'd probably cause some outrage, but it's good to normalise that kind of behaviour. and anyone that does get cranky can suck a fat one. But it was good to see there was quite a large participation by the look of it as well.
Yeah, and thankfully the story was reported on our Channel 1, which is our sort of national broadcaster. It's kind of like ABC, I guess. And it was the sort of the after news stuff. So Jeremy Wells, who hosts that, he is from one of our sort of more risque radio stations. They're called Hauraki or Hauraki. And they sort of came about by doing pirate radio. They sort of got a boat.
A bit rebellious.
Yeah, they got a boat out in the Auckland Harbour, and they were in international waters and started broadcasting rock and roll to the land sort of stuff. And yeah, so that
as an inspiration to that Pommy mob that did it.
Yeah.
Like, was it inspired by that Pommy mob that put that big ship out? Is that where they got the idea from?
Yeah, it was that story, that movie is basically the same as these blokes, and I think they got shipwrecked a little bit as well. But yeah, so this guy Jeremy Wells, he's on the morning show, and they even got international recognition. They asked the Prime Minister whether or not he feeds the chickens, so they had this sort of 10 questions thing, and one of it was like, do you do wheeze in the shower, and have you fed the chickens in the last month? And so they did that to the Prime Minister. I think he was on the Daily Show or whatever. But yeah, and then they're also on this thing called the ACC, which is the Alternative Commentary Collective. So instead of listening to the One Dayer and listening to the usual Babylon, you can listen to these guys talk absolute trash, drinking too many beers and just being...
Oh, that'd be gold.
Oh, yeah, and for a while there, they had the sports ears programmed into them, so you could be at the ground listening to these guys, and so they get chants going and all sorts. It was fantastic.
Yeah, that's unreal.
Yeah, so for going back to the news story, before the thing even got started, he basically said, "This one's for the president of the PC Brigade. Can you please, write your letter in to me and I'll tell you to piss off," sort of thing. And then
he's preparing for it. Tell him it there. Then say what you want, but it's not going to make any difference.
Yeah, he's like, this is bloody awesome, man. And it is. It's and when small town New Zealand becoming more and more isolated as automation and especially as we convert to more dairy, you only need a couple of blokes to run a massive mob. And everyone sort of moves to the city, and the rest of the country gets blamed for all the issues. To have a whole bunch of people from a massive region come together in the name of hunting is pretty bloody awesome. And like going back to your earlier question about a mentor or a group of mates, well, that's the sort of place that you meet a mentor and a group of mates, and that's what's been really good about joining the Deerstalkers since coming back to the country is meeting people and sort of exchanging information and exchanging tips and going out on hunts with people. It's bloody awesome.
Yeah, that's what I like about this podcast, like that we do. Like it's an excuse for me to meet people and talk to people, and I don't even need to go hunting, but just to share conversation on points of view or ideas or tests or trials, and everything's a benefit, everything, or even what areas to visit or what to stay away from, or people to watch out for, the fakies that may appear good, but that's all bull crap or it's all smoke and mirrors. So yeah, it's good, those clubs. There's a lot of guys in there that I went to one meeting, and it's full of guys that none of them were on social media. It was a ADA meeting here in Victoria, and there's I can imagine there's a lot of older fellas in the room. There's a lot of knowledge, and they look at things a whole lot differently to what our generation looks at it. Even like just the hunting side of the way they did it, because they've been doing it like that for 40 years. And even with all the info we're presented with now, the stuff they had would still be really beneficial. And the only way you're going to get that is by meeting them in person or hearing them speak in person. It can't be written or shown or YouTube, if you know what I mean. Like that kind of different information is what you get through meeting and greeting.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're bringing up the fakies there. You've been lucky enough to even feature on a few pages that aren't your own, Toby.
Yeah, and they're all like, I think they're all got the same similar traits. Those ones, they've all got a full stop and something else and some fake name, and yeah, they copy and paste. They even use the wrong descriptions off the wrong posts. They stole even photos of Hunting Camp Downunder, and they were using the descriptions off one photo of Josh Rogers calling him me and calling me Josh Rogers in another one. They'd swapped over they just copied and pasted the 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 dialogue at the bottom of it and put it in. But yeah, it's yeah, it's great to have that. Yeah, all this technology is good, but still, there's nothing beats that getting to face and meeting people face to face and having that. It's so much different, and people, I didn't appreciate it till I went to a club. I just thought, yeah, I don't need a club. Clubs are for guys who don't hunt a lot or they need social life. But then I went there, but there's so much more benefit. You can't be told till you go. And then you go and you have the epiphany and you're like, oh, wow, yeah, I'm an idiot for not doing this earlier. And maybe like yourself, you're like, oh, I should have joined that club 10 years ago. I would have been eating venison a lot quicker.
Yeah. No. And I guess that sort of face-to-face value sort of stuff, like when it came to, like I've been going through a few personal things in my life at the moment, but that I'm not too public on just yet. But yeah, I sort of messaged a guy that lives over the other side of the ranges here, and sort of said, "What are you doing as in yesterday?" And he said, "Oh yeah, well, I'm keen. We'll meet halfway," type of thing. Because I was down the bottom of the North Island at my mate's wedding, and it was like got there on the Thursday night and overindulged. So the Friday was a bit dusty, and then we had the wedding on the Friday, and I think it was quite good to do that first night because it meant that come the second night I had a bit more of a plan. Stayed on the wines and drank plenty of water, went home to bed and had a good sleep, and I was actually feeling all right yesterday. But even so, it would have been pretty easy to just go, oh, nah, I won't worry about it, or oh, I better get home and sort my life out, sort of thing. But it was, yeah, ultimate commitment, and especially when you have someone being accountable to, that's also got to drive a couple of hours. And yeah, you just sort of get out there and you're walking on into the track, you're going along a little creek and in the trees, and you just sort of, everything just disappears for you. You take the odd snap to remember the time, but you're just not even caring about the thing in your pocket, and you're just completely honed in on what it is that you're trying to do. And then even walking out today, it was kind of like walking along going, I don't remember any of this. I was just so honed in trying to see where animals might be or listen or whatever. And yeah, it's truly therapeutic getting out there and getting away from the city and all the town and all your problems or thoughts and everything. It's pretty crack up.
Yeah, it gives you it's like when you're trying to run too many programs on your computer and then you just got to close them all down and reboot it. And it's a bit like that with you when you go bush and you got a heap of loaded things up and you're waiting or worried about something else, and then you go out into the scrub and everything one by one, all those things just drop off because there's no room for that stuff in your head when you're out in nature. You're just, I don't know what it is. I suppose lots of people do it for lots of different things, and we've discussed this. I discussed this with Adam Kavanagh. It's like a mild form, and you might know because you would have tried meditation or done some meditation, but it's like a conscious meditation. But even when you're out there, it's just everything switches off. All you're doing is looking for shadow, looking for a movement of that deer. It takes all your concentration, but at the same time, it doesn't take any energy. It doesn't wear you out to sit out there and breathe in the clean air and walk. It doesn't take, there's no mental strain on you while you're out there. And although it could mean the difference between eating dinner and starving, depends what you packed in, but it still doesn't weigh on your mind. Hunting like other activities, which will be far less strenuous and probably in the big scheme of things far less impactful on your life. But it's just, and you forget sometimes. I don't know if you notice, you be away from it, and then when you decide to go and do it, just that 10 minutes after you get out of the car and hit the ground walking, you just forget that you needed that. Like, should have come back last week or the week before or the week before that. So, and then finding someone, like I said, to walk with, that can be a good thing too, depending who you're sharing it with.
Yeah.
So someone you can off.
Yeah, offload with, and especially, we went out in summer, and I'm sure it's a bit like you guys over there. In the middle of the day, you kind of twiddle your thumbs and wonder what to do with yourself, and you can you can have a nap, and then you can only nap for so long, because like it still doesn't get dark till 9:30, and you're like, oh shit, it's only 4 o'clock. too bloody hot to walk around. But yeah, so then you just start yarning, and you could talk about the weather, but when you're out in the bush, the weather's pretty bloody obvious, and the sports or work or whatever. But when you've got 8 hours to kill, those conversations dry up pretty fast, so then you just start talking about other things. And then I think
it's more of a, there's no small talk. There's no small talk in the bush. You're not there to, oh yeah, how are things going? Oh yeah, it's good, mate. What are you up to? Oh, not much. No, it's always good, deep conversations. Because you're both the person you're with can offer advice as well, because they're in the same point of ease. You know what I mean? You're open-minded. So
that is true. That's like, especially because you're in so much space and so much openness. If you just said, "Oh yeah, how you going? Good," well then it'd be like, "Well, this is a sweet bloody trip, isn't it?" Like,
well, you're a shit bloke to hunt with.
And so I guess that forces you to just sort of try and expand your ideas just a little bit, and dig deep into that vocabulary. Maybe if it is filled with a bit of profanities to color up the language, but gosh, if you just said, "Oh, you're good," yeah, exactly that, you'd be a pretty shit hunting partner, and you wouldn't get invited back.
Yeah, and that's why it's good to have found hunting with a lot of guys that I've never met before. It's different. You can talk to people that you don't know about totally different things, and also, I don't know if you noticed, you're more inclined to take in what people tell you as well when you're out in the hunting camp, and more interested. Not that you're not normally, your brain's normally full of crap and shit normally, even just having a social night out, but out when you're sitting around a campfire or hunting, you remember what they tell you, and you're more interested in them things going on, or you know what I mean. It's a more fulfilling conversation, even if you talked about the same things, just because you're more absorbent and more free with what you're talking about, which is why, as well, I'd say that it's a great sort of reset for people. They can exhale all the crap and have someone to discuss it with if they get in that situation. So, or you can talk about really good stuff and how your imaginary deer you're going to shoot tomorrow is just going to walk out.
And I guess
14 point.
Yeah, for that there's like nowhere to go. There's no report to write. Your laptop's not there. Your phone's not, or your phone might be there, but it's not bloody working. And so it's just kind of like, well, what's the point in checking it or whatever? You know how people talk about these digital detoxes. Well, just go in the bush. You can't use it, so that it becomes useless. It becomes a non-factor. That's one of the things Jocko Willink says. If you want to do stuff, just make it non-factor. Have your clothes sitting there in the morning. Get up, put them on, away you go. And isn't it funny that when you go hunting, all of a sudden you can get up at 5 o'clock when it's still dark, or 3 o'clock when it's still dark, and get out there and climb the hill, and it's no worries at all.
And if like in wintertime, I'll be like, yes, it's raining. Because I know the hunting it's way better stalking with the bow if it's drizzly weather. But if I was to stay at home and have to mow the lawn, I'd be like, oh, damn, it's raining. What am I going to do now? I got a job in the shed. But if you're like, yes, I'm going hunting, quite drizzly. The only weather I don't like, windy weather. I'll turn around and go home if I got gale force winds. But rain's not an issue or anything like that. But it's definitely, it's one of those you said, those detox, or you gotta have to do it. It's, if you say to yourself when you go hunting, even if you're in reception, which I am for half of my hunt, the rest I'm not. Actually, yesterday is the first time I left on Friday. I left the phone in the car.
Nice.
Not deliberately. I like to show photos and do the odd Insta story that I never post because I never shoot anything and it's real boring. So I always delete the Insta stories by the end of the hunt because it's just boring. But yeah, I left it in the car. But when I came back, I had 6 missed calls and messages and stuff like that. But I never used to hunt with it, so I don't know why it's a dependable item now to hunt with, because as little as 6 years ago, or even less, I didn't get reception where I hunted. There was none.
Did you carry a
Didn't
camera?
carry the phone. Yeah, I had a camera. Oh no, yeah, I had a film camera. When did I get finish the film camera? And probably 12 years ago, I bought a 2005. 15 years ago, I got a digital camera. Yeah, so I've always had a digital camera.
Yeah.
To hunt with, and I've never needed. But now the phone, priority of me buying a new phone is got to have a good camera. That's all I want. I don't want any of this other crap. I don't want any glass back, bloody glass front, wireless charging, all that extra crap. I just want a good camera and something that can make phone calls and the battery doesn't go flat after 20 hours or 12 hours or whatever.
Yeah,
they just don't make them.
That's the other good thing for hunting, hey? If you've got to go on with a good camera and good battery life, then then you're always going to be able to get that photo after you slogged it out for 5 days.
Yeah, I like that, taking the technology for that reason. I love reliving or sharing what's happened. So, and like yourself, yeah, you do good stories where you're on your effort, regardless if you don't try and butter it up either. You're normally buggered and worn out, hiking rivers or whatever, or through the scrub. So
I think I just don't really care. Like, I still, it's been a long time hunting, but I'm still learning, and so if I can just sort of, what I'm trying to do is try to communicate, this is what I'm trying to do, and hopefully, and it has happened, people chip in and give you some advice. It's bloody awesome.
yeah. You got any tips for this or that? So will this year be your first proper Sika Raw? Or squeal or whatever what do they call it?
Going nuts, I think is what they call it. Yeah. So that's, not to talk about the weather, but that's what we're sort of in this drought that just won't end for us. Like where I was at my mate's place, south of here, helping him with that fence, it's just bone dry, and yeah, he had a little bit of green there the other day, but I think already that stuff's gone. Like, again, the wind picks up and just dries out. There's lots of guys that have got rid of stock. There's plenty of empty paddocks and things like that. So yeah, every week we sort of, us in town and them out there, look at the forecast, kind of think, well, when's there going to be a front come through and turn the bush and chill off so that things start to go. But yeah, it was quite exciting last night. There was a red stag giving a bit of a bark, and he had 2 hinds with him. So I guess there must be the odd hind that's starting the cycle. It's pushing on since the equinox, so they can't be far away from being in heat. So we'll see how it goes.
They should be. As Peeler said, we had that super bad drought. There's no explanation. We haven't had a drought as bad it's in the white fellas who've been here anyway. And it's just broken to a degree. Dams are full, but our creeks aren't running constantly yet. Our river here at home hasn't even run yet. but we've had enough rain to go from 2 years of dirt, ruts and raws, to now grass that's knee high, and I keep tripping over because all the rocks. I used to be able to see, I can't see anymore. But we had a horrible rut last year because the deer were it was hot. It was 30 degrees some days.
Jesus.
So one, they didn't have the water. Then they didn't have the energy because there was no feed. So they would be vocal for a very short period of time in the morning, if that, and then that was it. And then they'd shut down. The does wouldn't travel. It just was no activity. But this year, and we've had massive chopper shot. There's a property I hunted since, God knows, I started shooting when I was 8, and I think I might have gone on there when I was 11. So 25 years, and one of my mates hunts it as well, and he went out there today, and since the chopper shoot, this is the first time he's hunted it in 25 or 26 years and seen no deer on it. So we've got a bumper season, but they've just hammered the deer population. I reckon there's 10% of the deer in some areas that were there. So we've got ended this drought, but they did the last cull last year. But yeah, we're going to have a great season for a rut. Cold temperatures, great feed, but at home, I just don't think we have the deer. So there'll be some going on, but I don't know whether you guys have still got the lasting effects of that drought, and whether you'll change in a few months as well. I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, you're saying about good feed and low numbers. Hopefully that means that the ones that have the capability to grow a good cattle, that they do. But you said there about does moving. Am I wrong in saying that fallow, it's kind of the opposite way around, where the bucks sort of scrap it out in pads and the does move in? Is that right?
No, the bucks will move into an area where the does are, and then create their turf, and then set up their turf. But when the bucks would just run out of energy way too quick. They're all skin and bones last year. Normally they'd follow the does down to water. In the middle of the day, they'll still follow some does off their scrapes down to the water or down to the feed and rut, and then they'll move back up into the bedding areas where they'll have a rut pad as well.
Yeah.
And the satellite bucks would have moved between, but I think this is my personal view, is that they shot a lot more bucks in the culls than they shot does. When the bucks get hit, when they're in bachelor mobs, they stay together. They don't ever chase and bomb a bucks. They don't scatter. But does seem to separate a little bit more than the bucks do. And I've still got does around, but I haven't seen hardly any velvet bucks, and then just only a few rubbing out now, which normally I can look onto other properties because I've got a property right on the range, and I can view from one spot. I've got like 3 neighbours, and you can just view the cleared ridges. And I used to be able to watch the bucks in their bachelor mobs grow out in certain places, but we've just got nothing. So it'll still be interesting, but it might be that they've just got so many girls around versus like the ratio is way out, that it may not be that exciting. The boys might have their work cut out for them. They're just all sitting there on a platter. So they won't have to be as competitive. But
yeah, I guess there's another.
Also got. Sorry, I was going to say, you also got the problem too. If you've got animals, how long has it been dry? Have you got any risk of underweight animals and not cycling because they're underweight, or you still got a drought for you guys is like a normal season for us, is it?
That's right. Well, I took the jaw off that one last night because I want to find out like how old it was. But she was reasonably thin. Like there wasn't much fat on her. She's still lactating. So whether that was with an older yearling or if there was a fawn around, I'm not sure. But yeah, it's kind of like she was in, like, if you're going to condition score her, I sort of put my hand on her rump to sort of check. She was probably a 2 or 3, so she wasn't underweight or anything like that. And then there's been, and that's what I was going to say, the good thing about social media is, you get to see what's sort of around. Plenty of guys, showing what's in velvet and what they're sort of watching on, and then plenty of guys showing the fat on the back, especially fallow. There's been some bloody good conditioned animals. Granted, they might have been on crop or something, but Yeah, that's also the tough thing about in New Zealand. There's plenty of guys with irrigated crop that they've still got bloody healthy deer because that's where the feeders and they've been eating it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, when it comes to the park, like there was good feed where we were. There was lupins everywhere, little tufts of broadleaf and maui. Yeah, lots of good things that they could eat in this area. Whereas the kawikas, being more beach forest, I don't know, being dry underfoot without much water might be, I don't know. But yeah, you see plenty of people showing the area, and there's enough greenery around it. Like I say, our drought's a bit different to your drought.
Your drought, it doesn't rain for a week, and it's
Yeah.
a drought. Or
it has been months, but our ranges being a bit higher, I guess they accumulate a bit of moisture and things like that. So even though
you get some. Do you get still getting mist? Do you still got moisture in the air, which settles on the mountains and keeps that dampness?
absolutely,
or is it complete?
Yeah.
That's good, because we were getting points where like there was we had, I don't know how long it was, we didn't have a fog for months and months and months, just because there was zero moisture in the air. So even our timber that's on the top of the mountains facing the south was still, or there was no moss on it. It was just all dry and crusty, and
yeah.
that's good.
I think that's the other cool thing for hunters, and like hearing from people like Cam Speedy, who's an ecologist and been following Seeker for, what do you say, the 70s or so. Like hearing from people like him and talking about like their patterns and where they live, and he's got some papers published out there that you can read about the Seeker, and I think there's an equivalent one for the South Island red deer. That's what I really would, and I'm a bit of a sciencey geek, so I love reading that sort of stuff. But I think that's what would be really helpful for both New Zealand and Australia, like if we can manage them. And that's what I think is really cool about the North American model. Like, here's the tag for how many that we need to get rid of.
Yeah. Unfortunately, they're both pest species that have a massive impact on the environment, but we can't bridge a common ground where they've got to hit a point where the numbers are not impacting anything, but they're sustainable enough that they're creating and generating income that can cover for them being in that environment, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like a farmer has 100 deer chewing through 150 sheep's worth of food. So
That's right.
if he can create a revenue to offset that, he'll be happy to keep those deer there. But until they're given a value, we can't. It's sort of a butting our head against the wall. So that's what I was going to say about this coronavirus in NZ. If it affects guides that much, it would be a good example to show the deficit in income if they push to eradicate massive amounts of tahr and deer. If this year the virus inhibits travellers coming in and paying, it would show the loss in income to the areas that live off hunting in the middle of the year, like the good season, like all the West Coast towns and stuff that get an influx in the tar ballot, or just in the good months. It'd be with this sickness or illness and restrictions, it would be the only other thing that could be as close to it as possible to show what would happen if you eliminated that industry or reduced it or handicapped it.
That's a really awesome idea, because I think it's got to come from the people like the chopper pilots, like the people that are monitoring the numbers, if anyone's sort of monitoring the plant species that are in there, because especially places like West Coast, Central Otago, they're tourist destinations anyway, and so it's very easy for the general public to say, oh no, it's just from the lack of tourists. But those specific industries, and then like I say, looking at the outcomes of the ecology, to say, this is the impact that we actually have, both from an economic perspective and from an ecology perspective. There's a bit of responsibility on those industries not to it's fair enough to complain that it's impacted them from an economic perspective, but then also highlight the positive that they do for both the land that they're managing and also for the community that they're a part of. I think that's a really awesome point that you just brought up, and hopefully people think about that.
You'd be hard pressed to not walk into a place on the West Coast in the peak of the hunting season, or like in the spring or whenever, those periods that everyone visits. Even us Aussies over there, because we flood the joint for a little bit. But we went into it. There was like there's about 8 of us in the pub one night. And that was 1 or 2 nights, plus the caravan park, plus another hotel in town, plus the hire car, plus all that. So we are doing it because it's harder and it is a lot cheaper than anywhere else. But we're still spending a couple of grand each to go over there for those 10 days. And I'm not going to spend any of that now. You know what I mean? Like I'm not giving the local bakery or I might buy a trinket for the kids and then buy a pie at the bakery and then go and have a night out after we get back and go nuts because we're enjoying the good food and grog like that. This is the only time you could measure that. It's literally the only example of being able to measure that without taking it away fully.
Yeah.
Because, and then go on. Sorry.
I was going to say, even myself, thinking back to we went to Wanaka one year. We got a Wanaka raw ballot, and it was the same weekend as Warbirds over Wanaka. So there's like heaps of people in Wanaka there already. But yeah, like you say, you're at the pub and it's just full of people going hunting, and you're on the New Zealand flight, and there's sort of a couple of rows of hunting bags in the overhead, and there's a massive queue at the oversized because everyone's checking in their rifles, and it's it's gonna.
We went to Okatika and Pat forgot salt somewhere, so he's walked in the shopping centre and comes back with a heap of bags of salt. And Old Love's like, "You going hunting, bro?"
Yeah.
Straight up. It's like, well, obviously, even for that, even this travel, people aren't travelling as much because of the risk of getting an illness. Even in-house travel from locals, from you guys travelling south to hunt is going to be restricted. So even if any of the not only the international but even the local guys, it's going to go, I'm not going to bother wasting my 5 days off annual leave to go and hunt tahr if the chances of getting him have reduced. So, or I know that they've baited that valley for reds, so I'm not going to hunt for reds just because they baited it. So, or baited it for stoats and everything else. But everything else dies anyway. But it'll turn your locals away as well. As soon as their rumour goes out, so when they chop a shot up here, they did annihilate it. They just cleaned up massively. The amount of deer was really, really good and really effective, especially for the place, like I was saying, my hunting block hunted for years and years and years. Although it's disappointing, I watched those farmers shoot every week, shoot deer under the light. They had to. There's just so many of them. They shot 219 deer one year in a 12-month period. They only had 1,200 acres. That's a lot of deer. So that they were shooting on, they only shot on one side of their property, and mostly in just one back corner. So it's great for them that these deer have been taken, and I'm all happy. But just that rumour that gets out to all the other people that travel from Victoria or Queensland or New South Wales to this area to hunt is enough to just reduce. They're like, I'll go somewhere else. I don't want to waste my holidays. So that effect is gonna all that internal anguish as well. Like you guys are going to say, no, I'll just stay and go local. I won't bother going down there if they've baited that valley or they've chopped a cold or anything like that. And this with this, I hate saying coronavirus because it's bloody everywhere. It's just annoying to have to say it. But again, the same thing. It'll be the same. It'll even be locals who aren't travelling just because there's no need to travel. So in Australia, they'd say it's just because they got no toilet paper. Kiwis aren't as dumb as us when it comes to buying all the toilet paper at the shops. So
I don't know. Yeah, it's happening
It's the
in
flu. It
the
makes you
UK.
cough. It doesn't make you cough. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's happening in America as well. Yeah,
yeah.
like yeah. You need more tissues, not toilet paper. You get a runny nose, don't you?
Yeah, it's interesting you're saying about hiring cars and stuff. Like I was up in Auckland last weekend hiring the car, and then the shuttle driver taking me back. He's like, "Oh, thank God, like you say, the locals." He said, "Thank God for you guys coming in, or else we'd be absolutely screwed." And he sort of gave me his normal, amount of trips each week. He sort of said that they hired out about 350 cars normally, and they were only doing 150. So that basically nearly halved their amount of hires, and they were the cheapest one as well. And I was thinking, gee whiz, it's not
And that's
just
not and that's before they bring in this requirement to ring them up
yeah,
and do your 14 days quarantine, and it's only going to get stricter, so it's only going to get worse.
yeah.
I just yeah, I don't know when it'll. And I was glad I booked my flights for my Landsborough ballot back December or January, and I got travel insurance, so I'm hoping I'm covered because I purchased it way before it became an issue.
Yeah.
To get my money back on my flights. I still like to go. I don't know what the whole details are. They might say, yeah, where do you work? How often do you frequently travel around? What areas you spot? They might do a case-to-case situation. I'm not sure. When you call them up, come over. I'll cross that bridge when I get there. So.
Yeah, man, there's going to be a lot of resources.
Oh, there's going to be a lot of people. It's funny they're saying, just isolate yourself or take some time off at work, and it's like they're giving welfare recipients more money to handle the coronavirus. I'm like, they're not the ones who have to take voluntary time off work.
Although in saying that, they're probably the ones that are the most valuable. So, vulnerable.
Yeah.
And it might be the difference that they,
Oh, the elderly most definitely, but I know there's a lot of young ferals kicking about who they got immune systems like that are more bulletproof than a tank. They could eat whatever they want and not catch any, those kids that run around with middle of winter with a pair of shorts on and a singlet and no shoes, and they just never get sick. They got super immune systems. So
might be something in that cold exposure, eh?
I said that till I had a conversation with a lady here before, and I'm like, well, you kill viruses if you do the Wim Hof breathing, and your body will change your chemistry and just kill it. Done. Over. Because why isn't everyone else doing it? Because it's hard work, and no one wants to do hard work.
Also, you might meet your ancestors as well. That's what happened to me.
I never got that when I did it. I just got lightheaded and saw stars and sort of. Yeah, you had a full roaring experience, didn't you?
You
Mark pull out of it.
Mark Clough reckoned I was roaring a bit lying there. I don't know. I don't remember. I was blacked out.
But if anyone listening doesn't know what it is, Wim Hof is a gentleman who's travelled all over the world looking for. His wife died or committed suicide, and he's trying to help mental health rather than trying to see the answer to life and happiness and inner happiness. And found a way to expose your body to cold, and what is it? It saturates your body with oxygen and changes your autoimmune system to pretty much be manual, and it changed everything. So he's worth a look up if you're into that sort of stuff. He's worth the YouTube, and it's funny we talk about virus. It'd be great to see someone who's diagnosed with it do the Wim Hof and see whether it kills the virus in sort of the 20-minute, half an hour period.
Yeah, well, that's
very interested.
That's the thing about what they sort of think, like it's a pretty bad flu, but then your immune system starts going into overdrive, and then you end up in trouble. So that study they did where they injected Wim and a couple of others with the bacterial.
E. coli?
E. coli. The endotoxin, and when they didn't do the breathing, they got the fevers and all the rest, and then they did the breathing, and it was like nothing had happened.
Yeah, it was such a shock. So I don't sound like a nerd, but I've done it a few times when I feel like I'm getting a flu or a cold coming down. But I haven't been sick since I started being so in the carnivore. So I haven't been crook. I can't remember having a runny nose for more than a little while in the last sort of 14 months.
Yeah,
So.
no, I definitely haven't gone full carnivore, and I'm thinking about it. But moving to this farm, we're going to be pretty close to the food anyway. But it'll be reasonably meat centric. But yeah,
Whole foods, so fresh veggies and fresh everything, just straight
out of their garden. They got they got Angora goats, so they've got this beautiful, nourishing sheep or goat poo that they put in the garden and dig in, and things grow like wildfire.
Yeah, that's soil health. That's a thing too. But I don't know. I can't step back from it. I try to eat veggies sometimes, but I just don't. It doesn't happen.
It's even like my daughter, like, she doesn't want to eat broccoli, or she'll eat the odd carrot or the odd potato and stuff like that. And she eats, fruit. And I just sort of make the rule that it should be seasonal, and I won't worry about it. But yeah, she'll smash some meat. And when it comes to veggies, I'm not so worried. It's just, as long as she's growing, it's all it's all
good. That's what our friends, a whole different perception on it, because she's actually had all her blood tests and everything. She did it for like 4 months or 6 months or something, and did all her blood tests, and she had nothing. Everything was normal.
Yeah.
No high cholesterol or anything.
Nice.
And she's a lot more hardcore than I am. Like, she's in diet. She's even freezing liver and dicing it up and eating the 1 cube a day. And I'm not that hardcore. But,
what was her motivation for kicking into that?
Proved me wrong, but she didn't. So she's like, didn't believe me, and I said it'll improve the relationship with your kids. It'll improve your energy, everything I said. I didn't force it. I just said try it. I said, this is happening to me.
Yeah.
And everything happened to her full on, without even half going. Her relationship got better with the children. She stopped needing naps. Way more energy. Lost weight. Lost bloating. Became healthier. Doesn't give a rat's ass about half the things she used to. And and she has no desire to change.
Yeah, and that's the thing I kind of wonder, going back to that, like, no issues type stuff, or you've got everything in place and it's just to eat meat. But then you kind of, like, when it starts to become that you only need 2 meals for the day, then you kind of go, well, why was I eating so much, and what was I doing with all that time? But then at the same time, like you say, your energy is so consistent, and you're not getting those lows. You're not getting that mid-afternoon, oh man, I need to have a nap or another coffee, and I shouldn't have a coffee because then I won't go to sleep at night, and then you're just in this vicious cycle of being tired in the afternoon and being wired by the time you want to go to bed. And
that cycle.
Yeah, it just like takes away so many things that upset your patterning.
Yeah. Oh, it's hard. Like I've spoken about it on the podcast with Adam and a few others, and I'm like, I hate being that vegan sort of harping, but as we say, just try it. You never force it on anyone. We'll just say, just try it. If you don't like it, don't do it. But that's what old Joe Rogan said after he did it. He's like, he just tells people, just try it. So it's everything we've been taught about nutrition is suddenly flipped on its head, but no one's been doing any of this long enough to have any science behind it fully, like long-term science. But the same applies for the other diet methods. The only science behind continually adding animal fats to your diet is human evolution, and the last 3 million years. So
yeah, and pre-colonization of the Inuit people. Look how well colonizing them's gone. Although cigarettes and booze haven't helped them much either.
No, No, I'm not sure. I've listened to the Aboriginals of Australia. It's the same, but there's a couple of good books out about their farming practices before the white fella came in, and there was another flip on your head. There's a book out called Dark Emu. It'll blow your mind because it really flips everything we've been taught about them on their heads as well. But yeah, they suffered as soon as we showed up and started eating our shitty food.
Yeah.
And so many other tribes in there's tribes in the Amazon, they'll eat is fish and one vegetable root. That's it. That's all they eat. Salted fish and one type of tuber. And you can't. Yeah, it's so interesting. It's so interesting. It's just it affects every aspect of your life. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem that way. You get the opinion that your body can fuel your body with whatever you want, but it's the same as a vehicle or anything. It needs the exact right fuel for each individual. So yeah.
I guess the thing is,
people
I was going to say the thing is, like, there is the right fuel for your body and the season and where you are and what your genetics are, which is, I guess, the hard part. But when you take the real, like, clear lens of it, like being close to your food and eating the things that got you here, then it actually does become quite simple.
And I hate, like I said, I hate sounding like it, but it's like it's a no-brainer for me. Yeah. And some people find the same eating a keto diet, as you know, you're sort of full on. You've done that for a while now, haven't you?
Yeah, that was sort of where I went to, was keto, and then I sort of reined it back a bit and went to more sort of paleo type thing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not like evangelical about it or strict about it. Like,
oh no, I eat chocolate and drink alcohol. I'm not a full carnivore. But
yeah, like I said, I was at a wedding on just been, and although I did get the gluten-free stuff, but then I sort of said to them, "I don't worry about it. Like, I'll eat meat and vegetables, and there's no problem."
Yeah. But it says a lot for it's something that we overlook, and I keep getting back onto that subject. But you yourself got me onto that, listening to one of your podcasts with Adam, I think, and then a couple of others, changed the way I eat. And I've never been a big diet or gym junkie or anything. I think it's all crap. I think pretty much my body could convert whatever I shucked in its mouth, and it wouldn't affect me at all. And oh geez, I was wrong.
Yeah.
And you don't know till you try it.
Yeah. So here's a question for you. Like, you're sitting there in the bone room, and like there's lots of heads on the wall, but then you've also got all the casts and stuff around. When you're out there, and that's what we were sort of talking about over the weekend, is almost like the difference between hunting and hiking is that with hunting there's so many more levels. Like, you get the hiking part, but then you're on your own track, so that's already a level up. And hikers are probably going, this is bullshit, but this was our biased opinion. You're already a level up by being in this sort of exploring type thing, and then you might hear an animal or see some sign, and then you see an animal, and then you get it. If you get an animal, then you got meat and stuff, and then if it's something like that rack behind you, then you've got a trophy. It's just like all these sort of escalating levels to something that's already absolutely epic. Like, is that anywhere near your process when you go out, or subconsciously, or what?
I used to hike before this. I used to always walk, and not before this, before hunting, before it become, and it all stemmed from that. Even when I was a kid, I'd get with my mates. If I'd go to their farm, we'd just go walking. I don't know how we did it. We'd go out for hours without any water or food or anything. Just piss off and come back red hot, dying of thirst. But I always had the desire to go to the top of the mountain.
Yeah.
Everywhere. Always wanted to go to the top of the mountain and get the view. And I still do that. I still walk to the highest points. I don't shortcut. I still climb to the top all the time. Just for that, I know where the animals are, and the top, I can't even glass them from the highest point, but I just go to it because of the view of everywhere else. and then I'll sit there and just enjoy the view and soak it up and soak up all the mountaintops. And like I said, then you learn you can hike somewhere all the time, but you don't learn where every gully is. You don't learn that this point of the day it's going to be cooler in that gully or warmer in that gully, or the sun hits that point at this time, or that thermals are always dropping down that one. So that's your next level up. You become more engaged with the environment, even if you're not there. Just to walk, I can walk now on a southerly wind and stay out of the wind. I know where to duck through the ridge lines to stay out of the wind, so it's not unpleasant. It's like when you're hiking, you're just doing the miles and enjoying the environment. When I was as 2005, yeah, I think it was 2005. I was in the Kimberley, and anyway, I was working on a million-acre station up there, and I was finding more art sites on that station than anyone had before. And I'd walk faster than most, but they're like, how do you do it? And I don't know if it was ever the hunter in me that would just be more observant, more aware of his environment, why he was walking. I got no idea, but I found 100 and something art sites just in the 7 months I was there, and about 60 or 70 of them, people that had been there for 10 years never knew about. So, and I wonder if it was that hunter in me that was way more aware of his surroundings to pick up on the little things, the pathways or the natural walkways or cleared areas or whatever. I don't know, but I don't know if we're all like that either. I don't know if it's just something that maybe people that have never hunted before, they get out in the bush and then it all switches on and they're like, oh shit, why haven't I been doing this for years?
Yeah.
Like, is it genetic?
I don't know.
Is it in our blood that once that?
Yeah. It's where we came from, mate. And
we unlock it once we get out there.
Yeah, and it also starts bringing up more questions as well. Like you're saying about seeing an art site, or then you're like, oh shit, what's this all about? And same with like seeing springs. You're like, well, what's the geology of the place? Seeing different plants, and then you're like, well, is that edible? Is it edible for us? Like, could I survive on that? If I had to, you know, all these, it just sort of really opens you up into all these other avenues, and like, all of a sudden I'm into like, you know, seeing a bunch of possums. It's like, man, should bring some traps up in here, and you know, and all,
if you were just hiking, you wouldn't have seen those possums.
Yeah.
You probably wouldn't have gone out at night.
Yeah.
It's they're talking on Flora. It was coincidental that probably 6 months ago, the pigs were really getting desperate and they were rooting up this top of this mountain. So it's about 920 meters up. And these little daisy tubers, I don't know what their scientific name is, but they got like a carrot on the bottom of that as essentially a daisy. And anyway, listening to this Dark Emu book later on, is that plant used to be quite prolific, and it was a stable source of food for the local indigenous all over the East Coast. But due to sheep and cattle, it's almost all but wiped out most of their big plantations of it, where they used to sort of keep it cultivated to use in a time of whenever they did. No one was around to document it, so they don't know. But yeah, I didn't notice that, and I would have noticed that, but it was an odd plant. And I saw it rooted up by the pigs I was chasing. I'm like, I've never seen that before. I've never seen a tuberous root plant in the mountains here. And then heard that book later on about it, and it explained exactly what it is. And I was like, okay, I can link those two up. That was a food source of the indigenous people here years ago, and it's still here, but it should have been a lot more prolific. But it was just some cool little fact that I wouldn't have picked up if I was a hiker, because I wouldn't be chasing pig digging.
Yeah.
So, and something just other little that happens all the time. That little stuff. Yeah. And it's like it's nothing. It's nothing to somebody else, and it doesn't mean anything if you tried to explain that. But for people who spend a lot of time in the bush, those little things can make your day someday. That little bit of this, a little bit of knowledge here and there.
Yeah.
So,
And same for the sky, like weather patterns, and then even the stars at night time. Like shit, when you're away from the city, what the stars look like, just insane. And you almost want to get back and open up a sky atlas and go, what the heck was I looking at? Because you just don't see all that. Did you ever photograph the sky?
Yeah, that's another thing that came from that book, The Dark Emu. The emu is just a lot of Indigenous all over Australia, I think, have a connection with a Dreamtime creature, the emu, which is now imprinted in the Milky Way as an emu.
Oh wow!
And I've got this awesome photo of this. It's like a black spot where you can't see any nebulas or anything in the Milky Way, and it's actually the shape of an emu, and a big bright planet or star is right where its eye is. And It was just by chance I photographed it perfectly out in the Simpson Desert, and then someone pointed out to me. But yeah, I did do that, and I've just got a new Sony A7 III, I think it is, which you got really awesome low light, but I haven't actually done any night photography with it, and I've had it for probably 3 months now, which is a shame because when there's been cloud around lately, but when it was a drought, we had lots of clear nights. But I like to have a subject matter in my night photos, the stars. But it's pretty cool, isn't it? That line, and you don't appreciate it till you see it again. They're above you every night, but unless you roll out and just look up quietly when you're out in the bush, you forget that they're there almost every night, sitting in your house with the lights on, stuff like that.
I do try still get out, and same when we're in Bellin, I would sit on the bench the balcony and look over the coast. Also looking at those awesome thunderstorms that I get up there. But yeah, you're saying Dreamtime. I was super gutted to be missing Hunter's Journal's movie night tonight, and that was one of the films he did. Cam videoed the Blood Origins guys up in Northern Territory, Odds and Bulls, and that film they called Dreamtime. And then they had a spearfishing one, and then they had another guy, bow hunter, Khan Adam. I think it was them chasing Seeker or Reds, one of the two, or both. Yeah, so they had a little movie night on tonight down in Christchurch. So yeah.
Yeah, I saw Green Tree was going to that.
Yeah, that was the one.
That he's going to the movie night. Will they post them? Will they be on their website?
I bloody hope so.
Yeah, a few good movies on that website, a few good short films.
Yeah. No, they're doing good stuff there. Probably one of our most successful magazines has been having a TV series. They're up to season 6, and so they're doing really good sort of 40-minute shows. And then we've got another team, Hunters Club, doing good shows. So do they get over to you guys, or not really?
I don't have any pay TV or any sort of, so I only ever see what's on YouTube or on Netflix. I did pay for a few Vimeo videos, hunting videos, but I don't see. So you got the what's it called? Beyond the Divide with Rob Finking. I can't say his bad name properly. Anyway, he's got a show on one of the channels that I don't get it. I miss out on it. But talking on your magazines, we've actually just had the last edition of our Bow Hunting Down Under magazine, and I think it's the generation below me. I'm 37 this year. It's just not as inspired to write, and it's just struggling to get articles into the magazine.
Yeah.
That's what Bowie was saying, that you just can't get people to bring articles in. And I don't think it's that they don't want to or anything. I just don't think it's their thing anymore. We just don't. We share things now through video and photo rather than storytelling on paper as such anymore. So these video nights are the new thing.
Ironically, Cam, has started a quarterly magazine, and I think that might be what also is on his side, and on high quality paper, and trying to get images that are like yourself, Cameron, like yourself, that has a massive subject to it. It's not not so much about grip and grin anymore. It's about the full both visual narrative and the story that goes with it. So I think that
you need to feel the photo.
Yeah.
When the photo's there, you got to feel that photo, and a grip and grin does not. You can't feel it. But if you're seeing a photo of someone sitting exhausted, holding it or whatever, you know what I mean? I know what you're saying. That composition of those photos now, a better quality composition.
Yeah, and even like
arrowheads like that, it's only I think 6 monthly arrowhead.
Nice. Yeah, even like that photo I put up today of that hind, like I was trying to sort of show that man, that's pretty tough moment, and like you take the shot from I was 400 meters away, and you sort of watch it stand there, and like just going, please drop, and then you're walking up to it going, please have been like lethal, and because it's a long walk, and then to get there, and it's like the most ultimate relief, and like this beautiful animal was in front of you, and like I love deer, I want to farm deer, but to see them in the wild and just like their skin and how hardy they are, and that's why I always try to just take the meat off, get it away, get it with you, get it into a chiller or a freezer, and then enjoy it for so long, and sharing it, having that provenance that goes with it, the story and the build up, and that's where I think I'm 30, so I'm probably also a little bit ahead of that generation, but being able to write it down and have meaningful images and meaningful story means that this awesome pastime is not going to be lost, and getting hold of some people and saying I'll take you for a walk is another awesome thing that you can do.
Yeah, there's lots of and there's the sharing the story in the right with the right context. Also, people that don't hunt can appreciate it more as well if they see, and it's a real art to it. There's a big art to being able to tell a story that keeps all people interested, regardless of the context, like regardless of what happens in it.
Yeah.
But, it's the same with I'd feel like not so much. Yeah, when I can't shoot a deer without eating. I just can't kill one. It must be me getting old. I'm not old, but the older I get, the harder I find it is to kill stuff. And it's the same mentality. So all that effort you put in just to pull the trigger or hit it with an arrow just to stop at that point. It's like it can't end there. Sometimes, like I every single deer I've shot in the last all bar one. Sorry, one deer was nasty the other year. He was real super dehydrated, but I've cut the back straps at least, and I'll debone a back leg and take the roast or steaks out of a back leg or two back legs, or take the whole deer. If I go out with a rifle, I'm taking for keeps. Like I take the whole thing. That's why I take the rifle so I can shoot it where I can drive the car through it. But yeah, I feel like it just can't end there, can it? So that's you can convince others that it just doesn't end there as well. It's not just an emotional full stop, bang, it's over, which you can do for other animals that cause issues, but it's weird with deer. It's odd. Pigs, it's just like, they are a pest. I have no issues with hitting them, although I want to take more meat off the pigs because I just was cooking it wrong before and making it tough, so now I need to cook it better. But they just make so much havoc for farmers, spreading weeds with the way that they root up the soil, and they wreck tracks and wreck crops and heaps of other stuff. Like while they're eating, they're wrecking So I've got there's like a moral high ground when I shoot pigs or rabbits or anything like that. So
yeah, and the fact that pigs and rabbits, they're just unstoppable. Like they'll just,
they just go. Yeah, they'll be prolific if you don't control them. Yeah. Anyway, I think we've been talking. What have we been talking now? Or we might be going into the bit too long territory.
Yeah, no, we'll wrap it up there. Sounds good. 10:10. Well, what is it? 8:10. Good amount of time.
Yeah, it's not that late. Yeah, well, thanks for coming on. I've been on your show, and I've been meaning to. We've spoke about getting you on and talk a bit of Kiwi stuff. We talked a bit of everything just then. It's a great conversation.
Awesome, man.
Hopefully, I'll get over there one day to the North Island.
Yeah,
I'd like to hunt some sika. So
yeah, I need to get back down to the South Island because that's where I'm from.
Yeah, I've just started with the boys. Actually, we started talking about Stewart Island. I'm getting cold just talking about it.
Yeah, are you any good on a boat as well? Because no,
I'm pretty shit on a boat. Yeah, I'd have to be really drunk to get on a boat and then not be sick or just lie in the bottom in the fetal position. So that'll be me lying down in the fetal position. Probably the same in a tree stand at Stewart Island in a fetal position, freezing.
Yeah, Marino will be your friend.
Yeah. No.
I'll press stop.
You press stop. Thanks for that, Ryan.